Hello, New York. Welcome, and thank you for tuning in at NRF 2023. Walking across on the floor, there's just so much pent-up energy that we're sensing so much excitement. As we are thinking about NRF 2023, the word that actually came to my mind is juxtaposition. On the one hand, there's so much promises, the convergence of technologies across AI, perception technologies, immersive technologies coming together, showing so much real value. On the other hand, Azita, Charles, as we're saying, there's also this persistent big challenges the industry is facing. So today with this podcast, Azita, Charles, myself, we're going to share some of the real use cases we're seeing where the promises of technologies are addressing some of the persistent challenges the industry faced with, namely labor shortage, productivity, shrinkage, and supply chain disruption. So my name is Francis Yu. I'm a partner at Deloitte. I lead the business called Unlimited Reality by Deloitte, where we bring together AI, simulation, 3D, immersive 3D design to solve some of the real challenges. And here I have Azita Martin and Charles Furlan. Azita.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Azita Martin, Vice President of Artificial Intelligence for Retail at NVIDIA. And we work very closely with solution providers as well as directly with retailers that use our technology to build the best AI applications for the retail industry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Furlan. I'm the General Manager of our ThinkEdge portfolio at Lenovo. So the ThinkEdge portfolio is computing capabilities that is as powerful as the servers and infrastructure you'll find in the data center or in the cloud, but ruggedized, quieter, much more secure, that you can bring it in location such as retail stores or restaurants and stuff like that. So very excited to be here and sharing some of the technology and some of the use cases we see using edge computing technology in a retail environment.
Well, thank you, Charles and Azita. So let's talk about the first big challenge, that is labor shortage and related productivity. Unemployment rate is still at a historical low, and there's also post-COVID the tsunami of rethinking. So that led to quite a bit of shortage for many of our clients, for retailers, and across the board. Even when fully utilized, we're also seeing that there's a wage pressure that increases the cost of and which drives greater challenge around productivity. So what I would love just to unpack this a little bit, maybe we start with Charles, with you in terms of what are you seeing with advanced technologies, in particular edge AI, computer vision, and combined with some of the perception technologies that are really changing how retailers, CP companies are thinking about the notion of labor shortage.
And that's a real point. That's a great point, because a lot of the motivation came from the inability to hire people, or the few people that we have them be more productive. And one example that pops to mind is actually we're working a lot with quick serve restaurant, or QSR, where basically they used to have a lot of people, or maybe 3 or 4 employees to operate the drive-through, and now they're only 1 employee that can operate it. So how do you use technology to augment the productivity and improve the customer experience? So using computer vision on analyzing video feeds at the drive-through scenario, we're able with edge computing to analyze these video feed and recognize that this is a black Toyota Corolla. And as the person places the order in Spanish, for example, translate dynamically that order into English, transfer it to text, translate it to text, and pass it directly the order to the kitchen so that the kitchen can prepare the food. As the car drives by the window, recognizing that this is a black Toyota Corolla, easily being able to match with the right bag to deliver to the right car. Notification if the fries are missing, or if the chicken burger is missing as well, there's a flag on the bag saying, no, there's an item missing, so that we make sure that the order is exact and the customer is satisfied with the right order at the right time, and only having one person operate that drive-through. So it's using edge computing technology in that environment that helped productivity. And we could not do this in the past because we had to bring the data all the way to the cloud, and the vast amount of data produced by these cameras 24/7 is just too big to carry all the way to the cloud. So we need to bring the cloud capability in that restaurant to help the drive-through automation and improve the customer experience.
Right. You just touched on a lot of the advancements of different domains of technologies all coming together.
Right.
And there's also, as I'm working quite closely with the NVIDIA teams, there's also the notion of now taking some of like the 3D avatar, digital human, all into how do you not only improve the productivity side, but also taking that humanizing the experience into play. And Azita, I don't know if you have seen the aspects of not only we're taking frictions out of the workflow through automation, but also adding that whole human touch.
Yeah, no, let me add to that actually. You know, when we talk to executives at QSR restaurants, they actually say that the digital orders are 18% more revenue, or, you know, they call it per check, than talking to a human being. And so now, in partnership with Deloitte, NVIDIA has developed a technology that allows you to build avatars that represent your brand and have the capability to take the orders, take them accurately, and even make recommendations. Today is warm, would you like some lemonade with it? And so that's really important because it actually has proven to increase order accuracy, and customers actually like interacting with an avatar that represents that particular brand. So that's certainly one example in the QSR, but also across retail, being able to, for example, not use valuable associates to tell people, okay, you can find this product on aisle 5, right? Avatars can be used for that, just for helping customers. And of course, there are other use cases using computer vision, like stockout. Why do you need employees to go around and see if a particular shelf is low in a particular product? So there's technology now that actually alerts associates, what aisles and what shelves need to be restocked. So there's certainly a lot of technology that AI provides that helps make associates much more productive, so they can spend valuable time with customers as opposed to doing, some of the mundane work.
Yeah. I love that part. And also I love the part when we talk about making technology more accessible and the massive amount of ability for AI, for the avatar, for the associate, digital associate, to massively localize, take drive-through accent as an example. What we have seen is the AI, through AI at the edge, we're able to engage with customers from all cultural backgrounds in a lot more authentic and the relatable way, right? Understand their needs, their requests. So I would also kind of talk about in terms of the notion of when you start looking at computer vision and AI, what we start also seeing is it helps with a lot of the ways by which like stocking in terms of even inspection, right? So there's a whole host of the ways that we're seeing the frictions start to be taken out to alleviate the labor shortage challenge. So now I'm going to move on to the second one, which is a big one.
Right.
The second one is what NRF and Labor, the Loss Prevention Council, their study have shown as $100 billion persistent challenge of shrinkage. And shrinkage can come from all directions, all aspects of the supply chain, the delivery, the service value chain. So Charles, help us kind of unpack this a little bit in terms of what you're seeing as the real use cases that convergence of technologies are help addressing the shrinkage challenge.
That's a good question, and it's a problem that the industry is trying to address and solve, obviously. So, and shrinkage, as you've mentioned, come in different angles. It can come on stock shelves being out of stock, for example, or elements that are aging out on the shelf that shouldn't be. But with the pandemic, we've seen a lot more self-checkout counter being deployed, right? And this introduced the shrinkage increase quite significantly. One thing we did realize, though, working with our partners such as Everseen, we realized that a lot of those shrinkage are not necessarily intentional. It's a mistake, it's an error, they forgot, but it still remains that it's a shrinkage and hits the bottom line. Therefore, we deployed edge servers, compute capability, running NVIDIA certified acceleration card GPUs in the store themselves, because we take the feeds from these cameras and anonymize the data, but fine-tune it enough to recognize the hand movement at the self-checkout and recognize that somebody forgot to scan an object and simply nudge the customer on the point of sale, say, we believe you forgot to scan this object. Or even more sophisticated, where some people might have two products, one on top of another, and only scan one object. These are intentional errors or shrinkage that can be caught and then again notify. And 80% of the time, people will rescan the object. But what the outcome was really the fact that some people forgot to scan it in the first place, or thought they did scan it, but it didn't scan for some reason. And that nudging system really helped decrease the shrinkage. And in order to deliver this, you need to process a vast amount of video feed directly in the store using edge computing and NVIDIA acceleration cards.
Right, and I think that's one thing that you hit on, Charles, in terms of the intentionality matter, the intentional versus unintentional. And Azita, I know you have spent a lot of the time working with the industry, working with your teams in terms of discerning the intentionality. So love to hear from your experience. What are some of the things you've seen? And also, not only to help the unintentional, but also really zeroing in on how we would prevent the intentional.
Right. I mean, I was with probably 100 executives last night, and the topic was theft, period. Theft has gone up, inflation and price of food going up and so forth. So I think what Charles talked about is really important, that there is a lot of ticket switching going on right now, where somebody tries to scan a bottle of Tide with a product that's less expensive underneath it. And what AI is doing is product recognition. The algorithm understands that what is being scanned is actually a $18 bottle of detergent, and it's not Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is apparently the most common thing used for ticket switching. And, it basically pauses the point of sale machine and gives the customer an opportunity to rescan. And if for a second time they try to do it, then it pauses the machine and notifies an associate who would come politely and reset the machine and help the customer rescan the products. The key thing that I think, Charles, you were alluding to is you want to prevent theft, so it's not an aftermatter thing. You have to do inference and notification in sub-seconds at the time that shrink and theft is happening, in order to reduce that $100 billion problem that's going in the industry and bring that down. So that's certainly one. And of course, there are other types of theft, like organized theft. That was a big topic last night. And again, AI can detect anomalies. So for example, a lot of these organized theft are, a group of people kind of walking in together very fast and going to the same aisle. And that's immediately a notification that potentially they're going to grab a bunch of expensive things and walk out. Mm-hmm. And again, AI can notify and to make sure that the associates or the security is at the door, preventing them from leaving.
Right, and from an image analytics perspective, do you see the difference in terms of behavioral between an organized crime behavior movements, people movements in store versus an unintentional.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
Right.
called
So-
anomaly.
Indeed.
Normal customers don't come in, running in with a bunch of friends and grab a whole bunch of stuff,
Exactly.
right? So that's the difference. And this is all, anomalized. It's not looking at the face, it's looking at the behavior. And so a bunch of people together running towards the same aisle is usually an anomaly that is associated with organized theft.
Yeah, indeed. I do wanted to kind of just pause on this moment, and I wanted just to kind of reflect on what you said with a lot of the executives, and we had the same conversation with a lot of execs. Shrinkage has been persistent over the past 5 years. And if the ROI is so compelling, we're still seeing some of the hesitation in terms of implementing the new technologies. So what are some of the one or two things that you're seeing or that can help overcome that hesitation?
I think a lot of the times the technical people get stuck in, is it 98% accurate or 99% accurate, right? And again, yesterday it was like, this is a CFO CEO problem. If the CFO and CEO is announcing in the earnings report that they're losing X amount of margin to theft, the results of these kind of pilots, because normally it starts with a pilot in a few stores, need to be shared with them. Because if you can prevent 30% of the shrink that is mostly happening at the front of the store, you can prevent it with 98% accuracy, why would you delay it? What we've seen is customers that have implemented that, they've tried it in 2 or 3 stores, then they tried it in 10 stores, and with that, they all of a sudden really accelerate deployment. So I think this loss prevention should not be only evaluated by the technical people. It needs to be a big issue that the CFO of every retailer should be demanding that of their CIO and of their technical people, as well as their VP of Asset Protection.
Right. It's so well said. And Charles?
And Francis,
Yeah.
I might add to Azita's point the fact that it's important to point out that the data is not exported out. For most of the software vendors out there, all the data is anonymized, so that it's not about recognizing someone, it's about looking if an object has been scanned or not. So it's important to realize that it affects the bottom line, and it is CFO, but the technology itself is not intrusive in recognizing the individual. It's recognizing a pattern, it's recognizing a movement that shouldn't be happening or a movement that should be happening at the self-checkout. But the data is anonymized. Clearly.
Right, and it's really focusing on the product itself.
Exactly.
And the interactions around the product.
Correct.
And hopefully that's also a way to overcome some of the hesitation, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So we had the great discussion around loss prevention, and now I'm gonna move on to the last big challenge, supply chain disruption. Now this time I might start with Azita.
Sure.
What are some of the ways that you see? And I think one of the things is where I see that what I love about what you guys have done is Imagineering is not just for the front office, for the customer experience. Imagineering is also for the supply chain. I love the notion that we're working together in terms of popularizing the industry metaverse concept, whereby the immersive digital twinning, simulation, AI, together with the XR, AR, VR, really drive shifts around, for example, the warehouse twinning, warehouse operations, or shelving. So I would love just to hear from you in terms of what are some of the real use cases you're seeing in helping addressing the supply chain disruption challenge.
Yeah, so what we're really seeing a great adoption is creating a digital twin, which is a physically accurate digital representation of a space. And we're seeing that in distribution centers and micro-fulfillment centers where supply chain executives want to accelerate throughput. And by first creating a digital twin or simulation of their distribution center, they can actually see the bottlenecks that are happening in the distribution center and optimize layout. There's a lot of moving objects in a distribution center. There are forklifts, there are moving carts, and just even minor modification to those layouts allow the workers to be much more productive. And so our customers are seeing 30% improvement in throughput, which means you can fulfill orders faster or fulfill them with fewer people because there's incredible turnaround. I mean, I was told by one of our customers in CPG that they have a 20% turnover in the distribution center. So again, with simulation and digital twins, you can try different layouts in a matter of minutes and be able to then determine what is the best layout for the best productivity.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, simulation as a concept, digital twinning has been around for a long time. What's new here is really turning individual sims to a connected simulation and then applied to Azita's point, it is physics-based and it's also spatial. And when we start applying this spatial simulation into environments such as warehouse or distribution center or store environment, it helps with the associates, the workers in those environments, not only becoming more efficient, but also being safer. Yeah. We're also seeing real benefits in terms of a lot of the warehouse or distribution center today is deploying large amounts of automation and robotics. Mm-hmm. And this is also a space where the simulation, in addition to the flow, the layout, it also simulates in terms of the interaction between humans and robotics. Mm-hmm. We're also seeing in terms of how might this virtual simulation before physical implementation, think about the cost savings, right? So, Charles, Azita mentioned the experience that you guys worked with Kroger, and Kroger is also a Deloitte client. Love to hear a bit more about the whole virtual store and how that's some of the learning that you have, not to steal the thunder of the next segment, but more so as a teaser.
Correct. So, I mean, and we touched a lot on some of those points when we talk about shrinkage, theft prevention, digital twins, the planning of the store. Really, Azita and you described pretty well the entire digital twin and simulation here. I'll simply maybe underline the fact that in order to deliver this, we require computing capability that is what we have never seen before, right? We typically had in those stores industrialized PC or gateways type of environment that clearly is not allowing us to deliver those sophisticated use cases. So and that's perhaps the biggest innovation that we have seen in the technology is the capability to have that compute capability closer to where the data is created, processing it and delivering the insight in these virtual stores. Without that, all of that would have just been a dream, and we need to materialize it today. And we can materialize it today with the technology that we have from NVIDIA, Lenovo, and Deloitte.
Right. And it really takes a village to tackle those persistent challenges. So just as a wrap, I would love to hear Azita and Charles, your thoughts about this village, this ecosystem of solution partners, ISVs, technology partners. What are your kind of closing thoughts in terms of how might we work together in addressing those big, we talk about 3 big challenges, right? So
yeah, I mean, I think that NVIDIA is the trusted advisor in AI, whether in any industry, frankly, right? We have the most incredible people that know the best techniques. And so we're advising the data science teams and so forth, right? And Deloitte is really talking at the executive level, initiatives. And often, Lenovo and us, we're introducing some of our partners that are small startups. And at the end of the day, the retailers are looking for integrated solutions. And that's how we partner with Lenovo as well as with Deloitte in terms of delivering a fully integrated solution that may include some solutions that the retailers develop internally and combine that with solutions that come from some of the most disruptive, most innovative startups in the industry. Frankly, a lot of the innovation is coming from startups. And so that's how the three companies work together to pull that together.
Yeah, and that's why this session is in the Innovation Lab, so very fitting. And Charles, any closing thoughts?
Perfectly aligned with the comment of Azita here. We show the art of the possible to our customers, and that is clearly they're not just buying an edge computing infrastructure or a graphic acceleration card. They want to have a specific problem in mind, and through our AI innovation lab that we have at Lenovo and working with NVIDIA, we look at a different set of partners, many of them startups, very small to very large, and introduce the art of the possible to our customers. And often as we have those meetings, those workshops, you see the light bulb goes on. Maybe close enough, I want to change it a little bit, but it gives them an idea and say, well, and then we get off on a project because they have something specific in mind or a specific problem they want to solve. So I think that this is really the interesting aspect of working all together in showing the art of the possible.
Yeah, I think all three companies, or three of us also, we have a shared philosophy where technology is only useful when it's in use. And the use really starts with the user and usage and how they use this technology in doing their day-to-day, the day in life. And that's where we start. And that's where we always say that technology is here to elevate the human experience, be they customer or employee experiences, right? So with that, I hope this segment has been helpful to you.